My name is John Knox, and I'm with Firefighters for Freedom Foundation out of Los Angeles. We're a group of stakeholders for the Los Angeles City Fire Department, and you're listening to Hall of Mears podcast.
Everybody, thanks for joining us. We have John Knox, all the way from California, Los Angeles Fire Department. And you're here I want you to tell your story to a new audience. We have a huge audience, especially on Facebook, of healthcare workers, first responders, service members. And you're fighting, you're at the forefront of a huge battle. And there's a ton of people that would love to hear your story.
And you're our founder or associate founder of Firefighters for Freedom?
I'm just a board member. I mean,
okay.
I don't necessarily know whether we have a founder per se. It's just that a group of us got together. There's 11 of us at this point, and we have a board of directors. So
right. Based out of LA County?
Yes. So we are out of LA County, LA City.
LA City.
Yeah, we live in different places or whatever, in the fire service. Not everybody lives inside of the city, but you want me to just go into how we started, kind of what we are?
Yeah, I know you've done a shit ton of interviews and podcasts, and I know it gets repetitive, but you have a whole new audience. I know you have a whole new audience, and there's a lot of people that listen to us because they get inspired. Mm-hmm. They find hope in these stories, and that's why I asked you to join us.
So let me kind of preface it. I guess I can spur the start of this conversation with, upon going to firefighters.org website, which those that are so inclined can donate to the cause, find out more about the cause. Your tagline is we are a dedicated group of professional firefighters who believe in liberty, freedom, or I'm sorry, let me restart that because we're going to edit this now. That's the beautiful thing about not doing this live. I don't sound like a blabbering idiot. Your tagline is we are a dedicated group of professional firefighters who believe in liberty, free choice, and our great country, as well as the freedom it provides. What does that mean for you?
So, man, that means a lot. That's a really rough subject right now, because I think Americans in general, we have taken that for granted. Most Americans were born into freedom.
Correct.
And I think that they have taken it for granted, not really knowing what they have. I've traveled all over the world and lived in different places as well. And I've seen firsthand what the loss of that, or the lack thereof, freedom and liberty really is. And so,
you've seen true oppression.
Yeah. And this country was founded on immigrants. And, I work in the city of Los Angeles, 4 million people just in the city. The county is pushing close to 10. And I deal with a very diverse group of individuals, and a lot of them are immigrants. And when you have people who come here from, whether it's third world countries, Eastern Bloc countries, places in Asia, they really value what this country has to offer. They value the freedoms and what liberty really means, because they come from a place where that doesn't exist, And
Sure.
So, to me, it's probably, that's why I'm in this fight, period. That's why we're in this fight, because back in August of, what year are we? 2021.
Right. 2021. I know.
August of 2021, for a long time, I've seen, and guys on our board have seen, that there's something wrong and things are going sideways. And, COVID is a real disease, is a real issue, but it's not an issue. And we saw these mandates coming. And so we got together and created, we talked about what would we do if and when that happened, if they put mandates on us. And that time came faster than anybody thought. Excuse me. And so the city put a mandate in place that basically stated, this was at the end of August, beginning of September. And that mandate stated that you would be vaccinated by October 20th or lose your job. And so that was kind of a shocker. How do you go for the past, 20, 22 months doing your job, not having an issue whatsoever, is called a hero or whatever,
So if we go back to the beginning of the pandemic, I think it's very interesting to understand the beginning, to understand how we got to where we're at now. So we're back at the beginning. Nobody knows, the vaccination doesn't exist at this point, and everybody is leaning upon the nurses and the firefighters and the EMTs and the medics to, take care of them when they really don't know if they're going to die themselves, right? We don't
Absolutely.
know the mortality rate of this new virus. So with that being said, LA locked down pretty hard right at the onset of this, right? They were, my memory serves me correctly, that they were one of the first cities to just totally lock it down.
Yeah, I've been in the fire service with LA City for 21 years. And I was at 9/11, and that was really eye-opening, mind-blowing. I never thought I'd see anything as wild as that. And I can definitely tell you that this tops the cake. Not on the fact that, we were attacked, all the issues that went on with that and the sheer destruction. But again, like we talked about in the beginning, freedom and liberty, the loss of liberties and the destruction that has happened, not physically, but, emotionally, psychologically, businesses, just the structure of this country is I never thought I'd see anything like this. It's really, truly staggering. So yeah, LA City lockdown. The only time I've ever seen it where you could fire a cannon down the middle of the street was on 9/11. And LA City is literally, it's like a video game, like Frogger. I mean, it's like New York City. There's just people everywhere,
Right.
And to actually be in that city with no one, and when I say no one, it's literally like a ghost town. You could hear birds. I've never heard birds in the city of Los Angeles. It's literally, you could hear a pin drop on the other side of the city. That's how crazy it was when they locked that place down. And it's like everybody on the planet died. I mean, that's the only way I can explain it. It literally was just a ghost town. And to drive around and to just be like, where is everyone?
So in the same breath, this is happening, you're still going into work at this point. You're still responding to fires, and I don't know how it works out there. Are you strictly a firefighter assigned to a truck, or are you cross-trained as an EMT medic?
Yeah, so we do both. We're dual function. I mean, we do have guys and girls that are just straight firefighters, but we run the paramedic service as well.
Okay.
And so we're integrated. I'm dual function, firefighter, paramedic. So we have a rotational system. Basically, we run a task force system. We have engines and trucks, and then rescues. And so, if you're a paramedic and you're dual function, all of our resources are assessment. And so we rotate onto an assessment engine or assessment truck. And yeah, so we do both.
All right. So everybody's locked down. You're basically saying that you're living in a post-apocalyptic LA, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So, but you're still going to work. The police are still going to work, and you're responding. And I suspect that luck of the draw, because you're cross-trained, you are now going on a plethora of people for breathing issues. At this point, there's an influx of calls for service for potential COVID.
Yeah. So, that definitely did happen. There was, we had a large surge of COVID in the beginning, as everybody did.
Sure.
And when we know how viruses work, sure, that's, that's totally normal. I mean, I worked when we had the Ebola outbreak here. I mean, this is life in the world, and that's the business that we're in, is emergency services. And so, we have to respond. It doesn't matter what it is,
And
so, yeah,
what personal PPE were you afforded by LA County at that time?
in the beginning, nothing, I mean, we just had our standard gloves. We really, nobody knew what it was, just, I mean, we know that COVID was here before they shut everything down, right?
Right,
So, I
right.
mean, we're dealing with it prior to that as well. Once they shut everything down, I mean, they had a good grasp of what was going on. And now there was such an influx of everybody around the country just trying to buy up safety equipment and all that. We didn't have stuff for quite a while. But once we did, we had policies that were put into place and so on and so forth. Basically, if you knew you had a COVID patient or somebody who was short of breath or that issue, then we would suspect COVID, right? And we would have, gloves, goggles, gown. We had a one in, one out rule. So if they were short of breath or whatever, driver or attendant would stay outside. The other guy would go inside to limit your patient exposure. As soon as you go in, we had N95 masks. As soon as you go in, you would put a mask on the patient. You get them on a gurney if you could, get them outside into fresh air. That way both could work on it. One person in the back, ventilation systems in the rigs going at all times.
So there were protocols put in place.
Absolutely. To keep us and the public safe.
And at this point, you guys are responding to more and more of these type of calls. It seems like those are practical protocols to put in place so you don't down an entire rig. I'm sure after the patient was dropped off, you had some sanitization process of the rigs to do. And at this point, they still don't know the mortality issues with this virus. And you are still risking your lives at this point to go help others.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was all going on, everybody's again, risking their life doing, we don't know the mortality rate, the news and everything. So at that time I was working in our DOC, which is our Department Operations Center. And then downstairs we had the EOC, which is Emergency Operations Center. And that is where the mayor and all the city agencies would come together. They had a very difficult time mobilizing and getting things in place. So the fire department, because that's what we do, is deal with emergencies, we pretty much took over the whole operation and ran logistics and ran all of the issues that came out of this. We worked very closely with the mayor and the other city agencies.
And who's the mayor at the time?
Garcetti.
It's still the mayor?
Still the mayor.
Okay.
Yeah. And so basically the fire department took that over and ran all of COVID during that. And so being in the DOC is very interesting, because you're getting a lot of information from the Department of Health. You're getting information from everywhere.
Yeah, Homeland Security is probably involved at this point. They're, LA County being a huge city, so anybody is involved in that operations command at this point.
So, you're seeing, TVs are on, you're running models, you're doing all of those things, trying to calculate and steer the department in the best direction possible, right? With the information that you're given. And it's interesting, you look back at things now and you look at what they said death rates were and so on and so forth, it's totally different. But when you're there in the heat of the moment and you're getting that information, you're preparing for, that worst case scenario. How do we mitigate this situation, and keep the field safe, keep everyone inside of the DOC safe, and then our dispatch center, right? Because it's very specialized. And so
and
if
ultimately
those go down, then the city goes down.
Right. And ultimately, at that point, as you said, you're in the heat of the moment and you don't have the luxury of that you do now of hindsight. So you're making the best decisions that would apply to the right now to safeguard everybody, ensure that there's proper coverage to LA.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're seeing these numbers going up and now, so we're tracking our individuals, who's sick, who's not, how do we setting up COVID sites as far as, isolation sites for when our members are sick so that they can be isolated, not sent home to their families, not destroy us, a fire station and so on and so forth. I mean, so the logistics was absolutely mind-boggling on all of the things that had to go on to run a city of 4 million people.
Okay, so let's fast forward then. Well, let me digress a moment. So you've done all of this. There's still no vaccination. So we're going to fast forward. The vaccination comes out, and so on this podcast, I need to preface it because we preface it on every time we talk about the vaccine, is that we are not telling anybody not to get the vaccine. We are saying if you want to get the vaccine, get the vaccine. But what our stance is against is mandating somebody to put arguably an experimental injection into their body. If anybody wants to do it, go ahead and do it. We feel the mandate is a unconstitutional government overreach at this point. So having said that, vaccines come out. I'm sure that obviously everybody knows they're afforded to first responders first, right? Those that wanted it, probably 30% of your department. I don't want to put words in your mouth. How many members of your agency do you believe got vaccinated right from the jump? Let's just get on that bandwagon.
In the beginning, I mean, up until recently, we had about 35% of our department was vaccinated or got the shot. And again, like you said, I'm going to preface this. Our organization, Firefighters for Freedom, we're not a union. We're a group of stakeholders inside of our department that came together over these mandates to stop the mandates because of their governmental overreach. And if you go, like I said, and look at our webpage and our mission statement and what we're about freedom of choice. And our website, has education and everything in there. And so if you, like you said, if you want to get this shot, then make an informed decision and you get it. If you don't, make an informed decision and get it. We're all about freedom of choice. That's what our Constitution is all about, right? Freedom. And so, correct. Again, until recently, we had about 35% of our department that we knew that was vaccinated, and then we had.
So if we're laying out the case for first responders to be able to make an argument that they get their choice whether they get vaccinated or not, I think the choice or the beginning of that argument comes with, once the vaccine is afforded to the first responders, where was your COVID infection rate versus after that initial wave of vaccinations that were voluntarily administered?
At the time when the vaccine came out, when the shot came out, where was our COVID infection rate?
Yeah, within the department, were you running, 4 or 5%? I'm sure at the inception, you were probably up at about 10, 15%. That seems to be the national average at the inception of this. Most people have it. They got over it. They're back to work, right?
Yeah.
But, then, the arguments made, because the other side, and this is what we acknowledge, the other side is arguing that, well, now, why should your hesitation or your trepidation, why should you be afforded to risk my life because you don't want to get vaccinated? So I'm trying to, basically culture a reasonable defense for that.
Yeah, so I couldn't give you the actual vaccination, the actual infection rates at that time. It was very low. Mm-hmm. When that came out. So I don't know, 1-2%. I mean, I'm going to say that, we've had over a third of our department that's been infected with COVID since the inception of this. So we have about 3,400 members in our department. So we'll say, 1,100 roughly
have had COVID.
Mm-hmm. And we get that. Why are you willing to risk my life to, not get the vaccine and then come in to my house and possibly infect me? Well, to that, there's this thought process and it's not even thought process, it's data as well. There's never been one confirmed case anywhere of a first responder transmitting COVID to the general public. Yet when you because of those safety precautions that we use, right?
N95s and whatnot.
N95 mask, gloves, goggles, one in, one out rule, decontamination of all of our equipment and our rigs. What people don't realize also is that as firefighters and first responders, we're usually very healthy. I mean, we have to stay in good shape to do our job. And so with that, we eat right, we take care of ourselves, we work out, we're not sick. We're afforded sick time too. Unlike, some of the general public, they don't have sick time. So they have to go to work when they're sick. I have sick days. So if I'm sick, I don't want to go to work. I'm going to stay home and take care of myself and get better.
Right.
Same time, I don't want to take whatever I have, whether it's the cold, or flu, COVID, whatever it is. I don't want to take that and infect my guys in my station. And I definitely don't want to infect the general public. So I'm going to stay home and take care of myself and deal with that. So, now we also know as well that asymptomatic is not a spreader, right? If you don't have any symptoms, you're not spreading the disease. We also know that Rochelle Walensky, head of the CDC, has come out and said that even if you are vaccinated, you still can catch and transmit the disease. So if that's the case, what is the purpose in that?
Right. That's where I was going to come in, since I'll let Mike talk away. But it's funny.
You're there. Hey, how's it going?
Well, since he's a former fire chief, I let him take the reins on this one. But it's funny that people still don't get that the vaccine does not stop the transmission of the disease.
Correct.
And it's like, hey, if I'm not sick, I can't get you sick. Do you guys not realize this? The vaccine is to lessen your symptoms at this point, should you contract the disease. They say, oh, it's to keep you out of the hospital. Okay, we get that. So that's all I want to say.
And so there's a lot to unpack, with all of that. I mean, we've started our own internal VAERS report. Our foundation has started a VAERS report. And for people who don't know what VAERS is, that's your vaccine adverse effects reaction.
I did not know that. So now I'm gonna try to find
the VAERS report, I think, is skewed.
I mean, I didn't know you guys created that. Sorry.
Well, we created our own. We didn't create that.
No, yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, we've studied VAERS extensively over the last 6 months.
And I think those numbers are skewed. Personally,
they even say that they come out, the government comes out and says that it's only about 1 to 10% of all cases are reported. So,
right.
I mean, if you sit there and you look at the last time I was looking at it, it was almost 900,000. Well, if that's only 1% or even 10%, holy mackerel, those are huge numbers, because those numbers, if you go back from the time VAERS was put into place 30 years ago, those numbers eclipse all of the other adverse reactions of all vaccines put together.
Correct.
I mean, it's staggering. So you look at that, and to me, that's a giant red flag. As a first responder, as a medical professional, that's a huge problem.
I think a point of argument is, realistically, those that are that are for the mandate, saying specifically that I don't want you to get me sick by your lack of compliance. Have you had any firefighters that have had adverse reactions to getting vaccinated?
Yeah, and so that's where we created our own internal VAERS report.
Right.
Was because of that. We, how the fire system works. You're working different stations, whatever. Everybody, right?
Right.
Depending on
it's a small world. It really is.
It is. And so you work somewhere and they're like, hey, so-and-so just got the shot and he's off sick, or this happened to him, or whatever. And so we're like, why isn't the department talking about that? And so we put a report together, and we still are collecting data on that. The department will say, we only have 1 or 2 guys that are off. Well, no, that's not correct. We have over 50 people that are injured from this shot. some are minor, and again, some are life-altering, life-changing reactions. So
you guys have to be one of the first like independent departments to come up with your own system. That's it's kind of groundbreaking in a way.
yeah, it's I don't know of anyone else that's doing it. I mean, we started the foundation, and so we can kind of, if you want to jump back to that, we really didn't even talk about that. We're going all over the place, which is good.
It's good because I like to circle, and I'm going to Jen Psaki it. I like to circle back and kind of bring it all together. So really quick, how many full-time employees does LA County Firefighter Association?
Well, so there's two different. We're LA City.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also LA County Fire Department.
Okay. So LA City, how many employees?
Has about, I can't give you the exact number, but somewhere around 3,400 plus or minus.
3,400. Okay. So, all right. So go ahead. I'm just doing some quick math. So go ahead.
So basically, again, we got our board of directors together. From there, we worked on getting a legal team together, and that consists of John Howard, Scott Street, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
And so from at that point, again, we got our members who were interested in it. We've got about 1,000 members right now that are in the lawsuit. We went ahead and we filed our initial lawsuit on the constitutionality of the law, of their mandate, and also
30% of your workforce has got behind this lawsuit.
Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay.
We're about 30%. And, so and they all put skin in the game too. They all put money in, to retain our attorneys, and that all sits in a trust for the attorneys to deal with. So, and then we also created a social media presence. We created our webpage, and we also created our Instagram page, which has blown up. I mean, we're pushing close to 40,000 people right now. I think we've done that in 6 weeks or whatever, 6-8 weeks. And we really push our message out there. So we filed the first lawsuit. And that basically, again, was on the constitutionality of the mandates and their faulty science. And basically their science behind this, what they're stating is that vaccination is the safest way to protect both the workforce and the general public. And we disagree with that because, we worked all through COVID. And now the longer this goes on, the more data comes out that proves that is absolutely wrong.
Right.
So, and again, the head of the CDC comes out and says it doesn't, then, that pretty much blows a hole in their case. So once we did that, we started getting a lot of pressure, upper management through the city council and the mayor started getting pressure, and they started pushing that down on us. And, unfortunately, the leadership in our department is lacking.
Appointed.
Yeah, well, yes.
The
fire chief is, but then, going down the chain of command through all the command staff, it's horrible. Number one thing in the fire service is you take care of your employees, right? In any business, period. But so they started pushing back at us and through using a lot of intimidation, coercion, harassment, and anybody who's worked in the fire service knows that bullying and harassment, we have volumes and manuals on that stuff. And here's our leadership basically coming down and doing the exact thing that they're telling us, we can't do. We'll get in trouble for.
Right.
And so they're pushing these shots on everyone that basically you need to get this or you're going to be terminated. There is no option, and continuing that narrative. So they're trying to separate the wheat from the chaff, get guys to peel off, pull out of this lawsuit, all of these things to separate us, right? The vision. And so with that, we filed a secondary lawsuit for punitive damages, based on the stress and all of the intimidation, everything that's going on, for $2.1 billion against the city of Los Angeles. And so when we did that, I think they realized, that we're not messing around and that we're not going to stop.
One quick question. So Firefighters for Freedom is one group. Now, what about being unionized?
So we have a union. It's the local 112 UFLAC, United Firefighters for Los Angeles City. And from the beginning, they've said that they support us, but they didn't think that we could win. They didn't see that we had a case. To me and our group, it felt like they felt it was a labor issue. And there are labor issues involved in this, but my sovereignty as a free human being and to be able to make choices for my body autonomy is not a labor issue. You have no place in the workforce to negotiate away what I do with my body. And so we felt it was a constitutional issue, and that's how we approached it. And so from the beginning, we went in two separate directions. They said they're going to deal with the labor issues, which they were very slow to move on.
Right. And those have been stricken down pretty much in every court in the nation, the labor side of it. But what you have holds water. That's where I really think that the unions misstepped.
Well, I'm gonna guess that their union is my union is United Steelworkers, which is a gigantic organization as well. But it's very political, unfortunately.
Yes.
And as soon as they were thrown money, they don't think about human rights at that point. It's they're going to side with the major companies and get they get on their vaccination the bandwagon. You might get vaccinated, and then all of a sudden,
and then try to sell it as a golden egg for the employee, saying, "Oh, we're going to get you $3,000 to get vaccinated."
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. You're like, why are you giving incentives out? That was happening in our department. The fire station that gets so many, we're looking at $500 to $1,000 will go into your bank, and you guys can use it for your station or whatever. It's like, this is absolutely wrong. If this thing is so great and it protects people, you should have people lining up for it. You're not giving incentives. We're not giving donuts and beer and all that other stuff. You got to be kidding me. Something's wrong. These are all red flags. Right. And so our union, we pay our union almost $5 million a year in union dues. And, it's like, you guys need to be supporting us. A union you're fighting for all of your employees, not just, one specific group. So this is a big issue. And
I think this is an ideological wedge, though. The union's stance is for, they want to say for the department as a whole and the department employees as a whole, where they're not thinking specifically about individual sovereignty. I think that's really where the ideological wedge, you're talking apples and oranges at that point, because, while you're thinking about what am I going to put in my body right now, they're thinking about, well, what's the next 10 years going to be if we play ball with this? So different strategic concerns.
And on that union issue, only because we're running out of time and I don't want to forget about this. You guys, had a firefighter put up a really powerful post a few days ago
with the healthiest mustache I've ever seen.
That mustache game is strong. And after 16 years, it appears he's no longer a firefighter. Can you talk about his story a little bit?
Yeah, so he's on our board of directors, and basically they pushed our mandate. We were supposed to be terminated October 20th. They pushed it since we were so dangerous and a hazard to the public, and that we're going to infect and kill everyone. They moved the goalpost, and now it's December 18th. So we're still employed till then. But in the new deal with this, with the second mandate that they pushed through and all the terms and conditions, one of those was that they changed our condition of employment, which violates our MOU and contract and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. So they're violating labor laws there as well. In addition to that, they're basically stating, that we have to sign up for all this testing through Bluestone, which is corrupt. They sell all your data, give it to China, so on and so forth. And if you don't, they came to him and they said, here you go, here's your notice. If you don't do all of these steps that are in here in the next 48 hours and comply, you're going to be put off duty, leave no pay. Well, you can't do that. That's illegal, and it violates a Supreme Court law, Skelly versus State of California, that protects our job as a civil servant.
Right.
We have a property right to that job. So basically, he has until actually today to agree to that, or they're going to put him off duty, leave no pay, pending disciplinary action and termination. And that's illegal, 100% illegal. They can't do that. But yet they're not doing anything in the realm of legality. They're not following the law in any aspect. They're violating constitutional laws. Now they're violating Supreme Court laws. They're violating labor laws. There's a lot of issues at play here. And so
where's the lawsuit sit?
The lawsuit is in court right now. Well, it's not in court. We filed a preliminary injunction on last Tuesday night. And we are on Monday. It was pushed out. I don't know the exact date that the court was set, but we do have a ex parte hearing, and the city has agreed to move the date up to the 17th of December. As you know, we're scheduled to be terminated on the 18th. So with Jeff, the issue, and it's happening all over. Like, I go to work tomorrow and I'm expecting to get my notice to comply or be off duty, pending my termination.
So there's no due process at this point. Do it or you're gone.
Yeah, there is no due process. There's nothing. It's either comply or be fired, because they want 100% vaccination rate.
Now, how can they even do that with the pending litigation?
Or
There's
do they
nothing that
even
can
care?
be that injunction can't be served by the judge. It says, look, all these guys have to stay status quo till there's a finding on this. Is the judge not willing to do that at this point?
Well, the preliminary injunction was filed, and so when they go in for the ex parte on I think it's Monday of next week, we'll see what happens with that.
Okay.
But again, it's Los Angeles, it's California, very liberal.
Sure.
And unfortunately, you all are the guinea pigs of this. I mean,
yeah, so that's one of the things that's super important, and that's why we're not going to lay down. We will not bend, we will not break on this. We're going to take this all the way to strike these mandates down as unconstitutional, because what happens in Los Angeles and what happens in California spreads across the country like wildfire.
The good and the bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if we can get this knocked down and we can set precedent, then that's going to change a lot for this country.
So has the OSHA mandate, now that that's been kind of struck down and OSHA stepped back and said, this might be an overstep, that's got to help your case?
No, they doubled down. That's when they started dropping the notices and being like, okay, here you go.
Right. But I read yesterday that OSHA just walked that back. OSHA said they can't do it.
Yeah. And I agree. That's what mandates are. They're a sidestep around the legislative branch of government. Right. And because most people don't understand how the process of law works and what a mandate is. Anything that is contrary to the Constitution, anything that's repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. General rule in the Constitution, right? And so these mandates, that's why the guy that's sitting in the White House right now, Biden, he's not making this into law because he knows he can't get it passed. So if we just say it's mandated, or we just create a mandate with a swipe of a pen and say this is what it is, then everybody goes along with it because they don't understand that it's against the law.
It's like a whole nother podcast. It's so frustrating, when Americans should be questioning everything, and instead it's yes, sir, yes, ma'am.
And the problem is, and when you hit the nail on the head, it's, we could do another hour on just the propaganda machine. And, this is the United States, and there's so much propaganda out there, for this vaccine that's supported by major news outlets. You're not getting the truth. And the truth, I think there was a 2-second blurb on Fox News about the OSHA rescission of that aspect of the mandate. But that should be national news. And
Absolutely.
when pressed about it, the White House says, "Oh yeah, they said it, but we're still encouraging employers to follow this mandate." Come on, right? It makes you. I feel like I'm that German Shepherd in all those photos that my head just turned and almost broke my neck looking at the TV.
Well, and in Saki's press conference yesterday, she was still hammering home about 5 to 12-year-olds,
Right.
and it's like,
once again, another propaganda podcast.
Yeah.
All right, so let's wrap on this. So, firefightersforfreedom.org. What can our viewers do to help? Besides, go to that website, donate to this cause. Is there a congressman or is there a point of contacts that they can call to let their voices be heard? I mean, we've got a reach that goes across the pond. So with that being said, what can our viewers do to help?
Donating is definitely huge. I mean, if you can go there and donate, $1, $5, whatever you can is amazing, because this fight is a big fight. And we will take this all the way to the end.
And we thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah.
I know there's so many nurses out there that, they're a whole different topic, so many that are not unionized or they can't say the word union, they don't know how to even fight this. So we thank you guys for leading the way.
Yeah, you guys are trailblazing. You guys really are. And no pun intended, because you're firefighters, but you're trailblazing.
Right, I mean, it's awesome. So you can go there, you can contact us. We're actually creating chapters as well right now. We have like New Jersey, San Diego, Arizona. We've got a lot of different chapters as well. We put a system together to help other departments and agencies that are dealing with these mandates, or that think they're going to be dealing with these mandates, so that you can get a jump on this and kind of figure out what to do. You can write the city council of Los Angeles or the mayor, go to their site and just bombard them, with emails, call them, whatever you can do.
And do you have are you able to say the law firm that's representing your association's name?
Yeah, it's John Howard and Associates, and he's out of San Diego.
John Howard and Associates. The reason I asked that is we get inundated with questions of, who can we reach out to? Because I can't find an attorney locally that will help. It takes a lot of stones to be willing to take a case on like this. So I think, acknowledgement of that needs to happen as well.
For as little of a podcast as we may be, we get thousands upon thousands of messages. Yeah. Whether it's, how do I fill out a religious exemption? Where do I go for that? How do I get this exemption? Who do I contact for this? And, if we can help in any way, we try to do our best.
Yeah. And I mean, if you guys ever have any of those questions, you can shoot me something and I can, give it back to you guys and you can put it out there on one of your podcasts or whatever. One of the biggest things, we're public sector employees. So we're a little different in the way that we're attacking this,
Sure.
The thought process and what I see and what we see is they're coming after first responders, number one, because if people look up to us, and my buddy said last night at this rally we went to, he says, if you sit there and you want to make a fireman uncomfortable, call him a hero, right? Because we don't like that. It's our job. And we go and do it because that's how we're built, right? And so, but people do look up to us in that aspect as heroes, as, frontline workers that do things that most other people wouldn't. And so if they can come after the first responders and they can take us out, and the general public sees that we'll take a knee or we'll bend or we'll
make an example of you guys. Yeah.
They're going to basically take that and run it over the American people. And there will be no hope left for this country, because everything will be mandated and regulated after that. There will be no more rule of law.
Absolutely.
So, we have a platform, and I'd be remiss if I failed to use that and put our voice out there for people to hear and understand that you're not alone. You're not on an island. And as Americans, we need to take this country back. And we need to stand together, because there's power in numbers. There's only 330 some odd people in Congress, right? How many people are at your local level? And so this needs to be a grassroots movement from the bottom up. if you don't like what's going on in your school board, that they're mandating vaccinations for your children in school, or, your dog catcher's a jerk and you don't like what he's doing, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Those people are there because we voted them in. We put them into those places, and we have that ability to take them out and to put ourselves in those positions. So, we're seeing a huge movement. The moms, the women of this country are leading the charge like I've never seen before. And man, I want to give them all the props because, they're stepping into those positions of power and those roles, and they're really,
they're disrupting the system. I love it. Yep.
And that's what we need. And so as Americans, if you get nothing else out of this, get a group together in your neighborhoods, band together, go into these stores without a mask on. What are they going to do? Arrest you? You got 20 people in there shopping without a mask. What are they going to, come on, we outnumber them. And everything's based on fear. Stop being afraid, because we're Americans. We're not afraid. You've been programmed with this 24-hour news media to be afraid. Let's go out and reclaim our lives and take our country back. Move into these positions in your local city council and so on and so forth. Because if you don't, this is what's gotten us where we're at. And this is the conundrum that we're in. We can change that. And everybody has to just band together. This isn't a left versus a right issue. This isn't vaxxed versus unvaxxed. Whatever your religion, sexual preference, any of that, we're all Americans, and we all need to come together as a group, as Americans, and just move forward and really take our country back.
Perfectly said. And since Mike and I have started this, being a voice months and months ago, hashtagged it, together we stand, and,
yeah, it rings true. Being an American transcends everything else. And with that being said, you said it so eloquently and perfectly. I've got nothing else to add except saying thank you for coming on our podcast today.
Oh, great.
To our viewers, firefightersforfreedom.org.
And John, I hope that as you guys progress through this and things continue to happen and work out for you guys, that you come back on and give us updates. Man,
we won't take an hour of your time up. Yeah. I know you're busy, but 15-minute updates would be great as well, because we want to continue to follow this.
I'll spend as much time as you guys want. I'm here in this fight. We're here in this fight, and to get our message out and to inspire people, and really, we got to bring Americans back together. They've done a great job at dividing us, and that's over. And I'll tell you, I'm seeing that firsthand experience everywhere I go. People are coming together like this. This truly is the shot that's heard around the world.
Yes.
This is our 1776, and they thought they were going to divide us, and it's really bringing people together. It's truly amazing.
The tide was starting to turn after yesterday. It's turning even faster, and I think we're heading up. We're heading in the right direction. So
yeah, I think so too. It's awesome.
Thanks again, John. I really appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Great.
Awesome. All right.